Hey guys, I'm Kevin Dubois with My Shop Assist. In today's video, I'm going to go over part 2 of our inventory system. In the first part, we went over the actual quantity on hand tracking of the inventory, so we'll link to that video as well. But in this video, I'm going to go over the vendor table. So this is a very important part to the whole system. It's a big change from how we previously did it. Up until now, you could just use a string for the name, and you could add a whole bunch of the same name essentially. So it could be like Summit Racing or capital S Summit Racing or Summit, or you could variations of the same name, and it'll just let you keep making vendors really easily. Now moving forward, we are now requiring you to use a phone number or an email or both. And ideally, you should definitely be putting that stuff in there anyway. It just makes it a little harder to add a vendor on the fly, but it makes overall how the system works way easier, because now you can email purchase orders or submit stuff real easily. We can merge vendors together. We can do a whole bunch of stuff with that. So I'm going to go over in this video how to do all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get started here, and I'm going to begin with looking at the table. Okay, so here we are in My Shop Assist. First, I'm looking at what you would call the jobs page. So we're going to skip over to the parts. So you have your parts table, and below the parts table will be the vendors. So right here is going to be your vendors table. For this video, we're going to ignore all of them that say approved or request access. Those are what we call the My Shop Assist vendor network. So I'll go over that in a separate video. That's video 4 of this whole series. But these, I'm going to strictly be going over the lines with the checkbox in them, because those are just going to be your internal vendors that you created within your system. If you've been using MSA for a while, you probably already have a bunch of these, maybe even hundreds of them in there. I'm just going to, this is a test case here, and we're just going to go through it. So let's add a new vendor. So in this one, I'm going to call this one, we'll call it Jimmy's Performance Parts. And in this case, we're going to want to add an email. So jimmy@johns.com. And maybe we'll put in a phone number as well. So 214. Okay. If you're putting in all the address and stuff in there, which I recommend doing, especially if you're wanting to ship stuff back and forth with them, you have all the records in there. If you have an account number or who you deal with for your contact, all that information can be stored on here. And so maybe we're 1234 Street Road, and we are in Louisville, and we are in Texas, United States, right? Okay. 75057. Save. Okay, so we've created a vendor. So now when we are working with your parts, you can select from that vendor. So when we go to our shop parts, and I'm going to add a part, we will call this Jimmy's Big Turbo Kit. And we get this from Jimmy's Performance Parts. Our part number is ABC567, and maybe this thing is $5,000. All right, and we're going to go ahead and hit save. And maybe we pay $3,000. There we go. Okay, so we now have a part attached to the vendor, which is Jimmy's Performance Parts. So now if we add this part to a job, so this is kind of going off how we did the inventory, but it doesn't necessarily have to be inventory tracking. But we're going to go ahead and add a part. We're going to add Jimmy's Big Turbo Kit, and we're going to mark this part as need to order, and we're going to hit save. Now we're going to go back to the order status page here, and we've got our Jimmy's Big Turbo Kit, and it's coming from the Jimmy's Performance Parts vendor. So the way this works now is we have the vendor information in here. We add the part for the vendor. All we have to do now is click the checkbox and hit Create PO. It's going to attach the vendor's information in there, the part we needed, the PO number we're assigning it to, and where we're shipping it to. So this is going to default to your shop address, but you can change it to the customer. We'll go over that in the purchase order video, which will be the next video. So this video here, I'm just going to go ahead and add this one part to the order. So we're going to save the PO. We're going to mark it as ordered. And we are going to go ahead and just receive the part. Okay, so we have created a purchase order. That part has now gone through the system. And on our purchase order page, we're going to have our Jimmy's Performance Parts right here for $3,000. When we go back to the vendor page, Jimmy's Performance Parts, if we edit this, we can now see a history, and we will have one PO on there. So we have our vendor history. And the last piece of this is, because of what has happened for the last however long you've been using MSA, you likely have a lot of duplicate vendors. We want you to be able to clean that up so that this system works better. And so what we have done is we've added the ability to merge it. It mimics the same system for parts and for labor, and customers as well. So you can merge those together. So let's say Jimmy's Performance Parts buys Joe's Parts here. So I've got both of these on here. All you have to do is go into Jimmy's Performance Parts and click the merge. And you're going to get this modal that appears. And we've got our Jimmy's Performance Parts on the left. And we are going to say Joe's Parts is here. And the two merge together and they share everything from the first one. But let's say the phone number is from one of them here. You can kind of toggle back and forth what you're saving. But what it will do is it will merge all the parts and all the purchase orders into one vendor as well. So it's useful if you have the same exact vendor multiple times. If you're trying to merge, like when Turn 14 and Motivicity merged, those are really two separate businesses. I wouldn't necessarily merge them unless you really want all the parts to go from one or the other. So, but yeah, you just click update. It's going to think for a little bit, and it will merge the two. So any parts that you had on one will connect to the other, and you can save it. And so now we got rid of the other one. So Joe's Parts is gone. It's just Jimmy's Performance Parts and Extreme Performance Parts. So that is the vendor page. Again, super simple. It's important to understand that it's no longer just a string or a name for the vendor. You do need to actually put some information in here. And it does make it easier for you to use moving forward if you put in the data correctly. So my suggestion is take some time, clean up your vendor list, go ahead and put the email if you have it, put the phone number if you have it, and then start utilizing the purchase order system. And that's going to be our next video. So if you have any questions on how any of this works, just give me a shout. Our information is obviously on our website, or just reach out to me at kevin@myshopassist.com.